So things haven't changed in the NFC West. The 49ers, they wanted to blow it. They wanted to give the Seahawks a chance. And hey, Seahawks, maybe the gap in the NFC West hasn't closed. Come in and take this lead. It was 23-3. You get the dynamic kickoff that finally became dynamic on the 97-yard kickoff return. You get another touchdown from the Seahawks, and suddenly it's 23-17, and you felt like the 49ers were going to blow it again. They blew it to the Rams. They blew it against the Cardinals. But no, the 49ers woke up and they're still mighty. They still dominate the NFC West. After seeing this game, some quick analysis, it's still the division for the 49ers. I'm not worried about the Seahawks. I'm not worried about the Rams. I'm not worried about those Cardinals who I've been praising. I think the 49ers are going to be okay in the division. Now, for the whole landscape of the NFC, winning the Super Bowl, that's a little different, but I will discuss that with my guy, my compa, Victor Javier Corona. Victor, how you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me. As always, it's good to be back. But as always, Gilbert, we got to check the audio. Are you able to listen to me clear right now?
Yeah, loud and clear. Audio is good. If the visuals are good for you, then I think we're off and
Yes,
running to a good start here
we're
on the
off and
show.
running. Yes, we're
Okay.
good. But just getting back to Seahawks 49ers, yes, I'm with you here. I was expecting a little bit more from the Seahawks this season. They
Yeah.
get off to a 3-0 start, and now they've lost three in a row, Gilbert, and they've lost now five in a row against the 49ers. Actually, there's six straight to
Six.
the
Yeah, six
40.
today.
There's six straight against the 49ers. Brock Purdy is 5-0 against the Seahawks and 3-0 in Seattle, which used to be kind of tough to go up
Yeah.
there and win now against the 12s. And so, and Brock Purdy, man, I got to give him a lot of credit this season. He's become a way better quarterback this season. And in his career now, he's 3-0 on Thursday Night Football with 7 touchdowns and no interceptions. So, I mean, as you talked about with the 49ers, it's been impressive just to kind of see them offensively. I still have some question marks with their defense, Gilbert. You give up a bunch of points. As you said, this game was in the balance again because the 49ers defense couldn't hold up their end of the bargain here. That it got close. What was it, 23-17?
Yeah.
And then they finally broke through and yeah, I mean the Seattle defense is really bad. This was going to be, we talked about it. It's going to take Mike McDonald a few, I think, years to kind of get his guys. We saw the same thing happen with the Ravens. And this, you give up 483 yards today, including 228 on the ground. That's not gonna get it done, Gilbert. But I guess my question to you here, as we continue on, kind of breaking down this game, is are you more impressed with the 49ers, what they did today, or are you more disappointed with what you saw from the Seahawks?
Yeah, a good question, Vic. Let me get to that in a bit, but let me tell people why we're here. Obviously, we're going to break down all the games in the Week 6 NFL schedule, starting with this Thursday night football game between the 49ers and the Seahawks. But we're also here for you. Yes, Heelberto's hours, my hour, but also your hour to answer your question about fantasy football. I see a Thea in the comments. I see a Will in the comments. We're gonna answer some questions very quickly. But don't be shy. Ask fantasy football questions, and we're gonna answer a bunch of questions very fast and furious, but we'll get some takeaways first on this Thursday night football matchup. But hopefully you stick around and get to talk about football, learn about football. Hopefully we can help out with fantasy football, NFL betting, just anything that you want to talk about the NFL. Don't be shy. If you have a hot take about maybe the Rams or the Cardinals wake up at the NFC West and take this division, or maybe you feel like the Vikings is a team to beat. The Vikings have been a thorn in my side for the whole season. Maybe you think they're legit. We want to hear from you. Will and Athir, give us a few more minutes. As soon as we're done with this game, it won't take that long. We're going to answer those questions. But for people watching or stumbling here and you're new here, don't be shy. We're going to answer all these fantasy football questions. But going back to your question, Victor, about to take more from the Seahawks or to take more from the 49ers, I'm going to go with the 49ers because I've been saying all along the Seahawks kind of felt like frauds to me when they were up 3-0. Yeah, the Broncos are better, but they beat the Broncos in week 1. They beat the Patriots on the road in week 2 barely. The Patriots are not good. And then week 3, I'm already Dolphins without Tua. And then when they finally met real competition, they lost to the Lions, lost to the 49ers, and lost in an upset at home to the New York Giants. So I don't care for them. it feels like a year where Mike McDonald could maybe turn them into like, a pesky team with a winning record, maybe 9-8, 8-9. That seems about the ceiling for me here. I don't care for them, especially when you don't have your defense. The defense is banged up. Like Vic, you and I could go play for them, defensive line or no. They're just up there. You Chan Nwosu, Byron Murphy the second, the rookie, even their cornerback Rick Willen, they weren't out there. And I want to say I can't pronounce his name, Victor, but the third stringer running back rushed for 99 yards on them with 10 carries.
Orlando.
Garendo, there you go. So from CMC to Jordan Mason to Garendo, better pick him up on that waiver wire in
Oh
case
yeah.
Jordan Mason's not ready to go. But he does get 10 days before that Chiefs showdown next Sunday, or I guess following Sunday. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
go ahead, Victor.
No, and I was just gonna say, I mean, the other thing too with the Seahawks and not being able to run the ball. I mean, you run the ball 20 times for 52 yards, and Geno Smith. I don't think he's been the problem with this offense. You see, DK Metcalf just not, so his body language just wasn't in this game, Gilbert,
Yeah, second
and like.
quarter, I saw that.
Yeah, and it's just been, Geno Smith, he goes 30 for 52 for 312 yards. That's awesome. But your every loss they've had, Gilbert, Geno Smith has thrown for 52 plus times. You're not going to win games that way. You need to be able to run the ball. And I get it. Your offensive line hasn't been as good, but at some point you got to commit to the run and you're not going to win that way. And so that was another thing. But I'm with you with the 49ers. I think, as we mentioned at the top of the show, I think with the 49ers, the offense is going to win them games. You're just hoping that some of those guys defensively just kind of catch up and are able to just be okay.
Yeah, and you're right about Brock Purdy. I thought he's been impressive. People forget that he's only in year 3 of being a quarterback in the NFL, and we all made a big deal. Okay, is he a good quarterback? Is he not? I'm like, he's in year 2, and he was a 7th round pick, and now he's taken off. When things got a little dicey, players got hurt, and he needed to step up. He's been doing that. He's been earning his contract that's going to be coming his way in February, March, April, who knows when, but he's earned that money. But this will be the last point here. We'll move on. We'll answer the questions for Will and Athir. But to me, it said two things. They're going to win the NFC West again, the 49ers. But there's a lot of issues where I worry about them and the NFC as a whole. Like, that the AFC seems weaker this year, and for a while we were viewing the AFC to be a little better. But you got a lot of teams who are not doing too well. So if you're a team that's maybe in the fringe or on the cusp of being a wildcard team, you could probably get in. And the NFC is just too loaded. But they have that path in the NFC West. But when you get to the playoffs, you got to face these new teams you didn't expect: the Vikings, the Commanders, maybe the Falcons if they turn it around. But you still get the Buccaneers in that division too. You got maybe 3 or 4 teams in the NFC North. The Lions ain't going anywhere. The Packers and the Bears are going to be pesky, and obviously the Minnesota Vikings are 5-0. So when you get to the playoffs, I worry about this defense. They can't really stop the big plays, stop the run. Uh, I worry about all the injuries. Like, can CMC is needed to win the Super Bowl. Is Jordan Mason and Gordon? Okay, what's his name again?
Correct, Correndo.
Garendo, can they be enough to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. Can Brock Purdy elevate his game a little higher to carry them without CMC or maybe a bad defense? These are all question marks. We're gonna see if they answer come January. But one thing is for certain, I think they're gonna be there. I think they're gonna be in that
Yeah.
playoffs. I don't know if they're gonna win the whole damn thing, but the NFC West is weak. It's down. You got a couple of pretenders there. You got teams that are injured. So I know some of the viewers here are Rams fans. It looks pretty bleak here, but I'm not ready to rule them out just yet. But things are looking okay for the 49ers. And I am ready to answer these questions here, Vic.
Yeah, let's get to let me before we get to the questions, let me just put this as a question for our engagement question. With all the teams you brought up in the NFC, who is the best team in the NFC? We want to hear from you guys. Let us know who you guys think. Is it the 5-0 Vikings, as Gilbert mentioned, as we talked about? I mean, you could possibly see 4 teams from the NFC North make the playoffs, which would be, I don't think we've seen that yet. I know they've gotten as many as 3 teams from one division. I don't know if we've gotten 4. I'll have to check on that, but yeah, Gilbert. I still want to know who the best team, because I honestly don't know who the best team in the NFC. I can just say, yeah, it's the Vikings, because they're 5-0, or but we just don't have enough information on them. It's only been 5 weeks.
Yeah, if you're forcing me to to make an answer here, like the Lions and the 49ers seem like they resemble each other. They have very high scoring offenses, but the defense have not done too well. Like the Lions defense, they keep spending money and drafting players that they're not good outside of Aiden Hutchinson there. The Bears defense, Packers defense, Vikings defense, they're better than Detroit defense. So I don't know what to think about them. Minnesota's a very complete team, but can I see Sam Darnold playing from behind? Can I see Sam Darnold playing in a close game? Can I see Sam Darnold like make a clutch throw a non-interception late in games? I just haven't seen it. I don't know. But one thing that I do know from Jayden Daniels and the Commanders, Jayden Daniels is the real deal. I think he's playing lights out, accurate, deep ball, mobility, getting Scary Terry in there. So you know me, when you have a quarterback who's doing that well and you seem to be a star, I tend to go that way. But a little similar to where a team that haven't shown too much. Maybe this game against Baltimore, which we're going to talk about in a bit, could be that start to really believing. But I don't know. It sounds a little wild to say it, but I'm not high on the Vikings. You guys know that already.
Yeah. We have some technical difficulties with Gilbert's Wi-Fi, but it's okay. We can continue to move on here. We'll get to all of your questions here. It says here, Atir said, Mike McDonald's defense is horrible. Yes, it has not. Mike McDonald's defense has not been up to par so far. It's been a tough situation to kind of see what's been going on with Mike McDonald's and his defense so far. We'll get Gilbert back on here real soon. Let's see if he's ready to go. We'll get him back on here. There we go. Let's see if we can get him on back right away here. Let me see.
Okay, I think I'm back here, Victor. Yeah, that Wi-Fi crapped out on me. Can you let me know where I stop on this NFC take?
Yes, you were talking about where you are in terms of like why are you not a Vikings believer?
Okay, yeah. Again, it's a Sam Darnold thing. I'm a little uneasy about, but yeah. I felt I felt like I said a lot of stuff when my stupid Wi-Fi went down. But the Commanders are the one that I feel like if you had to put a gun to my head, I was like, all right, they have the quarterback. They have some good weapons offensively. It's just I can't trust the Lions defense. I can't trust the 49ers defense. But it's a good feeling, Victor, that there's some new teams here that, oh, okay, you know what? It's a little open. I like that. Maybe it's the Falcons. Maybe it's the Buccaneers. I don't know. And maybe that's the beauty here of the NFC.
Yeah, and we'll find out as we said. I mean, there's a lot of football left. We're only, we're going into week 6. We've had one game so far in week 6. But let's get to these comments here. They've been waiting. I don't want to keep people waiting here.
Yeah.
Will Casper say, "Yo, what's up, bro? I am 5-0 and I have Mike Evans on the bench this week. Trade Mike for Devontae."
I wouldn't do it. I think Mike Evans is very consistent and reliable. One of my favorite players in the NFL. He's gonna get you 10 touchdowns and 1,000 receiving yards, and you're gonna bet on Devontae Adams, who might go to the Jets and they can't figure out anything offensively. Like even if they get Devontae and yeah, he'll probably have better matchups because Garrett Wilson's the opposite side, but. I just don't trust anything about the Jets offense. A 40-year-old quarterback that turns 41, shaky offensive line. And who's the offensive coordinator? Todd Downing? No, thanks. I'm good with that, Vic.
Yeah, no, I mean, trust me, I know about Todd Downing. Not a big fan of him. He went from being a tight ends coach to an offensive coordinator. We've seen what he did with the Titans offense a couple of years ago when he took over as the OC. Not a very good offensive coordinator. All right. Thier says Gilbert and Mike McDonald's defense at Michigan did not win a national championship. Jesse Minter's defense did. Who is better?
Yeah, I like that. The I guess the context there from you at the ear. I guess it's tough to say, but Jesse Minter does have the natty, like you mentioned at the ear, and then the Chargers defense off to a hot start. You finally got me into a corner to give praise to the Chargers. I think they're number one in defense points allowed in the NFL.
Yep.
So hey, there you
It's like
go.
13 points a game. Yeah,
And
it's been
uh,
crazy.
I can make an excuse for Mike McDonald not having his defensive players, but if you put the roster and the talent between the Chargers and the Seahawks, I think the Seahawks by far have more talent. And look what Mentor's doing with less. So there you go, Athir. Some praise there for the Chargers defense.
Yeah, and then Will Casper said, "Awesome, great, I'll leave a sub." So that's awesome.
Thank
And
you.
then in terms of our question, he says, "I'm going Lions or
Okay.
49ers."
Yeah.
He says, "I'm not totally sold on the Vikings or the Commanders yet." Tears also with the Lions is are the best team. I know the Vikings are good, but our Darnold has not proved it in the last 2 weeks against Detroit. But Goff is my guy. They're my Super Bowl pick. And then Joe Kinsley says, "Working third shift. Did the Jordan Mason injury look back? Didn't see it.
I guess well, I'm not a doctor, but he tried coming back. That's a good sign. But
One
then
play.
one play, and then he went back. So obviously, it hurt more than he thought. We really don't know. Maybe it's like a stinger. Debo Samuel felt something in his arm. I
Yeah,
saw at the end, but he came back. It was more of a stinger. Okay, you could kind of be okay with that. But with him going back to the medical tent, it's not a good sign. Obviously, you gotta hold the ball. You can't fumble. He fumbled against the Cardinals a week ago. But he gets 10 days to rest. But who knows? It could be like one of those MCL sprains or joint sprain, and they usually take about a couple weeks. I don't want to be a doctor, but
yeah.
if you're asking me from what I saw, it didn't look that bad. It could have been worse, I guess, Vic.
Yeah, and you gotta wait and see. Honestly, he had his the player landed on his shoulder, like, or he took him to the ground, and his shoulder hit the ground. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. They do have 10 days to kind of before they play their next game against the Chiefs, as you talked about. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Jordan Mason. I know there's a lot of worried fantasy owners out
Yeah.
there.
Pick up Gorendero. No, Gorendo. I don't know how to say it.
Correndo,
Gorendo, there you go. I keep thinking like it's
Correndo,
like a Mexican name, like
right?
Guerrero or something,
Yeah.
or Guero or something. I don't know.
And our friend Rudy Alvarez says, plus Baker loves Evans.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
uh,
Finally, Rudy, we're agreeing on something here. Mike
yeah,
Evans all the way.
yeah. And Mike Evans has, I think, a couple of touchdowns for 100 and like 40 yards from 12,000. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And then the last one from Athir here says, my hot take on fantasy football: if you have Jefferson, why are you not taking him first overall? Imagine Jetta with Herbert.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point there, especially now that Nico Collins is an IR. It's going to be Justin Jefferson being the number one wide receiver. I know somebody got on me for that. Might have been a tier, but yeah, it's looking good for Jay Jettis there.
Yeah, and before we get to our next segment here, Gilbert, our headline games of the week, where we go over the top matchups this week. You have four teams on buys this week. You have the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. I'm sure a lot of people who are watching us on House of Horns know that we didn't do a preview show this week, so miss you guys at House of Horns, but yes, so four teams are on bye weeks, so that takes care of four more teams from last week. We have one more London game this week. Over it's Bears and Jaguars, and then one more comment here from Joe Kingsley says, "Thanks, I don't have the roster space for another
Yeah.
San Francisco running back. I already have CNC and Mason."
Well, Joe, the good thing is that CMC might be coming back in November. That's still a couple of weeks away. I think I saw reports that he might practice next week, so they'll probably give him maybe 2 to 3 weeks to ramp up. So he'll be back in November, and you could plug him in there. You were smart to pick up Jordan Mason. So for your sake, Joe, hopefully Mason is back in 10 days.
Yep. All right, our top three matchups of the week, Gibber, as we talked about. Let's start off with our headline game of the week: Ravens Commanders. I bet you that if we talked about and we said that in week 6 the top matchup was going to be Ravens versus Commander, people would have laughed and said,
Hmm.
"Really? Like, I could see the Ravens being one of the top matchups, but the Commanders? What are you, crazy?" But yes, here we are. The Ravens are 7-point favorites, minus 310 on the money line. The over under here is 52 and a half. So, Gilbert, how do we get to this point in week 6 where the Commanders are part of the headline game of the week?
Yeah, I'll talk about the sports betting side at first, and it kind of bums me out because, like Victor, I've been high on the Commanders. I've been on their bandwagon. the last few weeks, and I guess they proved me right many times. Obviously from that Bengals game in week 3 where they covered. They beat them. They beat the brakes off the Browns last week, and okay, people are starting to pick up on the Commanders being a legit team now. And for my column this week, my betting column at si.com, check it out. I spoke to a sports book director at the Westgate, and he's like, yeah, the Commanders are actually a very popular underdog for the public. And who would have guessed that? The Commanders being very popular this time of year for sports bettors. And he said, when you have the public betting on the same underdog, that's usually the kiss of death there when it comes to sports betting. So when I heard that, and I hate to be the sheep and the follower, I'm like, okay, I'm not taking the Commanders +7 here.
Yeah.
I'm staying away. Last week they came through for me against the Browns. I think even the public was on the Commanders last week, and they all made money. But it just feels like a game where I want to stay away from the crowd, and maybe it's a letdown game for the Commanders. I don't see it, but just going off that trend, I'm not gonna touch this game here. So I gotta give you an answer. Like my heart wants to go with the Commanders +7. I even picked the Commanders to win outright at si.com. And then I was reminded about how many people are betting on the Commanders this week. I don't like that, Victor. So I'll give you my wrong answer here, and I think the Commanders will win this game. That's my pick, but I don't believe it anymore. What do you say here, Vic?
Yeah, I'm on the other way from what that you were told by the betting experts there, and I'm finally on board with this Commanders team. I tried to, last week I went with the Browns and I picked them, and one of the things too, Gilbert, that you've been giving me in terms of the trends is anything above 6.5, you got to take one of these teams because
Mm-hmm.
they've been winning outright. I mean, it's over 500 at this point with some of these teams that are 6.5 plus underdogs, and they've been able to win some of these games the way they've been able to win some of these games. And when I saw this line, I was like, either, as you said, either the public really believes in the Commander or the sharps don't believe in the Commanders. And so, as you talked about, you've already given us the insight here. I'm with you in terms of the betting, where you're coming from. But yes, I'm with the Commanders. I really like what I've seen from the Commanders. This matchup, Gilbert, is very interesting to me because I think not only is this going to be a high scoring game, I think it comes down to which defense can hold the other. We've
Mm-hmm.
seen how explosive the Commanders are. I understand Cliff Kingsbury. We've seen what he can do with Arizona. Eventually, people are going to figure him out as they've always had. But I think the difference here, Gilbert, with him now is he's an OC. He's not the head coach. I think what Dan Quinn's done with that defense has been really impressive because, and you talked about this. You talked about the guys that they've brought in. I think my disappointment is with the Ravens defense. We talked about this as well. Zach Orr, a young DC, you were expecting this Ravens defense to not lose much with Mike McDonald leaving, but they've regressed. They have not played well against some of those really good teams. I think it'll be interesting to see how they play this. I know that the Commanders have played extreme. They played nickel a lot of the time, and the Ravens have just feasted on teams with their 12 personnel whenever they see teams in nickel. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Last week, the Bengals kind of played them straight up. They didn't go to nickel, and they actually stayed with them. They confused Lamar a little bit here and there. So I don't know about you, but where do you see where this game can kind of turn for the Commanders, since you're saying that you have them winning this game?
Yeah, again, I don't feel good about it because they got the kiss of death there with the public. I hate following the public, and when I hear that, I try to stay away. So if I had money on it, I wouldn't do it. And Jay Smells, I will answer your question after this
Yes.
point right here. But everything you just said, Victor, that's the reason why I picked them on Tuesday. And before I had the conversations with the sportsbook director there at the Westgate, John Murray. Great insight. Go check out the column at si.com. And uh, yeah, like I started thinking about it. Okay. I feel like the Commanders are more of a complete team because, yeah, the Ravens have a lot of all pro talent on the defense, but that defense is not doing well. They should have lost that game to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals blew it. They wanted to sit on the ball when Jackson fumbled in overtime. That, or even before that, they should have put that game away when they had a 38-28, but the Bengals defense couldn't get a damn stop. So that
Yeah.
game should have been over midway through the fourth quarter, early fourth quarter, but the Bengals had no defense. So like you mentioned, Dan Quinn has a better defense. I think they could maybe, contain Jackson and Derrick Henry a little better. If it gets in a shootout, I'm okay with Jayden Daniels, because he already went into a shootout with the Bengals and he won that game there. So they're very explosive. He's been proven quarterback to go toe to toe with the best. But in terms of being a more complete team, yeah, definitely I like the Commanders to be more complete because also you're getting spotted 6-7 points. I love that. But it's not being a sharp play right now, and I try to think of myself more of a sharp. So I'm gonna go away from that game, but I could definitely also see a total letdown from a young team that could definitely occur. But you never know. Maybe the public is doing well. John told me that they won a bunch of money when they bet the Commanders to beat the Browns, and they bet the Ravens to beat the Bengals. The Bengals should have won that game, but it was a good week for the public last week.
Yeah, it was a -2.5. I saw a lot of people never doubted that 2.5 by the
Yeah,
Ravens. I'm like,
right.
oh, yeah, right. Come on. All right, we have some questions here, Gilbert. Before we get to our second tier games, Jay Smell says, "Should I trade Metcalf for James Conner and Mooney?"
A week ago, Jay Smells, I would have said, yeah, why not? Don't even hesitate. But something about Metcalf, like he's been really like annoyed the last couple of weeks, and he's gone through a coaching change. He started losing to the 49ers, a new OC, and it's just not clicking right there. So if Metcalf is a little checked out or a little annoyed, like I don't know if I want that, Vic, but Mooney's doing very well. He's been balling out. By the way, if you have a London, Mooney, or Ray Ray McLeod, like Zach Robinson, who we know well from his Rams days, he is playing heavy 11 personnel. All three of those
Yep.
receivers are playing 95% of the snaps. So they're all going to get targets and touches. So Mooney, keep him. Connor could be up and down, but the OC Drew Petzing knows how to use him. He knows how to run the game, run the football. So I'm okay with Connor and Mooney here. What do you think, Vic?
Yeah, no, I if you can get James Conner and Mooney, I'd go ahead and get it. I don't I think Metcalf is gonna regress this season. I just think like I know they like we talked about with the Seahawks, they're gonna air out the ball. That's what they want to do, but eventually you need to run the ball if you want to give that defense a chance. Mike McDonald has to start thinking about that defense and run that ball. But I mean, I would trade him if you can get James Conner and Mooney. We've seen how um, James Conner's been running the ball. I think if they focus more on running the ball, like we've seen with the Cardinals, I think James Conner is gonna have a big season. And same with Mooney. I mean, he's been the number one target for Cousins, so you don't lose targets there. I think if you get both of those guys, that's a really good trade for yourself.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And
I
then
think
he
it's
wanted to
yeah.
know about what do you think about his overall team? He's like, I have Rashad White, Brees Hall, Stroud, Jordan Love, Deontay J, Malik Neighbor, Brian Jr., McBride, Kyle, Pitts, Chase Brown, Jonathan Brooks, Tandale, Pollard, Metcalf, and Bixby. So this is
Uh,
a really stacked
Yeah, I
roster.
worry. I worry about the running backs though. Brees Hall hasn't done much. We talk about this a lot, Victor, about the first round
Yes,
picks not doing much. Besides Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, I want to say that we both have them. But the other
yes.
players are not doing much. Brees Hall is definitely one of them has struggled. Rashad White hasn't done anything. But good at quarterbacks. Jordan Love, Stroud. I like he did well with the two rookie receivers by Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. You got McBride, and you got Kyle Pitts as a backup there. But I think the one weakness here, Vic, to me is the running back. But hey, I've been high on Tank Bigsby, and maybe he finally takes off.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it. Dear, we're gonna get to your question when we talk about the game between the Jaguars and the Bears. So hold on tight. We'll get to your question just because it'll tie into when we get to that game, and then we'll get it's actually a really good question that we need to talk about. We have DC said. If Hall struggles against the Bills run D, I'll cry. I have too much Hall in fantasy. Hey, I had
Yeah,
him winning the offensive player of the year. So it's
yeah.
that
He
offensive line has just not been good, Gilbert.
He has 27 rushing yards combined the last 2 weeks. I'm sure DZ knows that very, very well. I
Yeah,
think 2 weeks ago was like 10 carries for 4 yards. I think maybe at one point he got benched last week, and I know Sauce Gardner wasn't happy with that. But yeah, it's not looking good. We'll see if Todd Downing does something there. Former
yeah,
Raiders OC and Titans OC, but
yep.
DC, for your sake, hopefully it gets better.
And then we got one more here from Ray 0134. Who should I start? I'm in a 10-man PPR. My team is stacked. I have Godwin, CD, Reed, Tank, Dale. I had Walker and Lamar as my running backs.
Uh, is he counting Lamar Jackson as a running back? Come on, he's a quarterback. Or unless I'm missing another
Yeah.
Lamar.
Unless this is Dan and Dago.
I know it's his burner account.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will go with CD. I know people are worried about CD, but the Lions secondary is atrocious. I'm okay with that. And maybe, obviously I like Jayden Reed. The two picks are Jayden Reed and CD for me. But maybe Tank Dell finally does something without Nico Collins. I got to see it first before I play him. But those are my two picks, Vic.
Oh, he meant Kamara.
Okay, yeah. Uh, Kenneth Walker he got a touchdown today, so he was okay, not the best, but he was okay. And then Kamara has to play with a rookie quarterback and Spencer Rattler against the Buccaneers defense. I worry about Kamara a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Nino Pena says putting the house on Monty TDs this week. Yeah, the way if you're the Lions, you got to run the ball. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
especially against that terror. As we've seen with that terrible defense, they've been a little bit better. The Cowboys' run defense has been better, but some of those stars are not going to be back yet. Gilbert, Micah Parsons, Lawrence. You have to run the ball. So yeah, this is a really good bet.
yeah. They're really
Uh,
thin at edge rusher too. Like Gibbs and Montgomery, go ahead and start them.
we also have here, says, but I got a little fantasy question. Ayuk or Olave rest of the season?
Okay, that's what ROS means. I keep seeing that. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Thank you for that, Victor.
Yeah,
I will go Brandon Ayuk. I know it was a little bit quiet game for him, but one thing that really stood out to me with the Saints, man, and watching Derek Carr. I know Derek Carr was playing a very tough defense last week, but like it's either boom or bust for this team. If he's hitting the downfield bomb or the deep pass, they're gonna be okay. If they don't, they suck. They're not good. They don't know how to move the football. They have no intermediate game. They have no other scheme or play. It's all bombs away, which is good for Olave and Shaheed. But like if it's not hitting, they're not good. So now you got Spencer Rattler who can maybe be better at the deep ball. Maybe there's a
yeah.
better structure, better scheme for him. I don't know. I liked him in the preseason, but I still got to see it. But for right now, if you're asking me today, I think I feel comfortable with Ayuk, but that Saints stock really took a major dip after week 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I mean, we heard that they were interested in Devontae Adams too. We don't know if they
Not
end up
anymore, I
trading for
feel like.
Devontae. Yeah, especially with Carr hurt now. I mean, this one's a tough one. That's a good question because, as you mentioned, you don't know what's going to happen the rest of the year with Ayuk and Olave. This is actually a tough one. If I had to pick, I'd go with Ayuk just because he has a better offense around him.
Yeah.
And we don't know what Clint, Kubiak is going to do. I mean, he had a good the
two
first two games
weeks.
were the first 2 weeks, and then it's been really bad after that. So, and now you lose your quarterback. Well, I kind of want to see what we get out of Spencer Rattler. I'm with you. So,
Yeah, I want
but
to see it too.
if I'm making answering this question right now, I'm going with the Ayuk just because we don't know what to expect from Spencer Rattler, and we don't know how long. It's an oblique injury. We just don't know how long
Yeah.
Carr's going to be out. So that's why. DC says, "Do you guys think Neighbors plays or not?" I have Neighbors Gilbert. I don't
Mm,
think he plays.
yeah.
It just sounds like. Well, the good thing about this is that Sunday night, so I'd wait till Saturday to find out it's a concussion. So I mean, it's a tough thing, and then I'd have to start Mooney over him, who's also now questionable.
I
I
saw that too.
Yeah, and so you're in a tough side. Like I had to go pick up Tober today just because I had so many dudes on my roster who I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, you had Cook also pop up. He has a turf toe. There's a lot of guys that you got to keep an eye on, and Neighbors is one of them. with their
I
with the might not play kind of
I like
situation.
that pickup, by the way, Victor, with Tober. I really wanted to get him. I was trying to find room on my roster here, but Tober's really been a reliable number 2 to CeeDee Lamb, so that's a good pickup by you. Hopefully, maybe DC could get Jalen Tober somewhere there.
Yeah. Armando Cepeda Jr. says someone offered me Laporta for GSN. I have Yoku. Should I take that?
No, I know Laporta has been frustrating people. Believe me, I have Laporta too in 2 of my leagues, and he's not doing too well. A little better before the bye week, but oh wait, he's saying he got offered. I always read these wrong. Someone offered me Laporta for JSN, or is he getting Laporta here? Maybe if you get Laporta, or you have him, keep him or get him. JSN hasn't done much for me.
Yeah.
Armando, I thought that office was gonna take off. They haven't done anything to me, so I'll keep or trade for Laporta if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then one more here from Armando says, and this week should I start Olave or Higgins? I have Higgins right now. Thanks, fellas.
I will go Higgins because that offense
Yeah.
is clicking and Olave as a rookie. That's pretty simple. What do you think, Vic?
Yeah, it's amazing what the Bengals offense has looked like once Higgins came back. I told
Actually,
everybody
you're
if you
right.
have
Yeah.
some yeah, if you have Higgins, I mean, it's opened up that offense. If they could just get something from that defense, they would not be 1-4 right now, but that's unfortunately where they're at. And but yeah, I with Higgins there, I would start him over Olave for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
We're going.
All right. Let's get to continue on with our top tier games of the week. We're gonna go talking about the Lions just now. We're heading over to the Lions versus the Cowboys. This is the Lions are 3-point favorites. The money line is minus 170, and the over under is 52 and a half. Where do you want to start with this matchup?
Yeah, and I'll be a little quicker here that we can answer more questions here. But this is a tough one for me. And I know the Lions are 3-1, but I just haven't liked their defense. And, a little similar to last week where I bet it on Dak and CD and Jalen Tolbert now and Rico Dow now, apparently, to generate enough points there to beat a very good defense in Pittsburgh. Well, the Lions don't have the Pittsburgh defense, and they're not in Pittsburgh. So part of me wants to give the Cowboys, maybe the benefit of the doubt here, but the Lions are coming off a bye week. They look great the last time they played. Maybe the defense does a little better here. I hate this will be a game I will pass on. I'm very tempted to take Cowboys +3, but I just see the Lions maybe having like a big day off a bye week. That's probably the best I could give here. It's one of these games that I have nowhere. I have no inclination of where to go to. I'm a little tempted more with the Cowboys, but they got a little lucky last week here, and maybe the Lions are finally at that point. We're like, okay, cool. We're now the Lions. We took off with the 18 for 18 game for Jared Goff. Watch out the rest of the NFL. I could totally see that, Victor.
Yeah, and I thought I kind of gave someone no, actually when we had Lunas live, I was kind of pointing out how I saw this on TikTok the other day about the Lions and the Campbell effect, where every time they face an opponent, that opponent the following week just get blown out. We saw it with the Rams against the Cardinals. Then the Cardinals faced them, and then they got blown out. I mean, every team it seems like so the Cowboys kind of have to look out after they face the Lions because they might get blown out the following week. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. But I'm with you here. We both picked the Cowboys to beat the Steelers. And part of it was just we didn't believe in the Steelers. I think this week it's just it's a big hill to climb with two of your guys defensively being out
Yeah.
against this Lions offense coming off a bye. I guess the one thing I would say is maybe they're a little rusty. The Lions would be, but they got healthy. And as you said, if you the where I see the Cowboys perhaps winning this game, I kind of told you the same thing of why I thought they could beat the Steelers was they could take advantage of the Steelers secondary. Same thing as you pointed out, the Lions secondary has been bad. That's why I went out and picked up Tober. I think though the two receivers and Ferguson, the tight end, are going to have big games in this game, and if that's the case, they keep it close and maybe they pull out a victory. But I just don't see it. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to see it. I think Dak is going to have a big game in this game, but I just don't think defensively they have enough to stay with the Lions.
Yeah, if I'm making a pick, I'll go with the Lions, and they
Yeah,
cover -3 here. I'll take the over in this one. It'll be probably a high scoring game. But let's answer this question here from Donnie and acknowledge Mike over because he's saying hello to us.
yes. So we got Donnie here. He said, "What's up, my bros? Good to see you
Or no,
guys
it's Michael.
again."
Michael Hart here. Michael Hart
Yeah,
Jr.
Michael Hart. Sorry, Michael Hart. Yeah, Michael Hart was with us last week. We got a sub from him, so
Yes,
awesome to
good.
see you,
Good to see
Michael.
you
It's
again,
awesome.
Michael.
And then Donnie says, "I traded JSN and Alec Pierce for Tyreek Hill and Tank Dale. Tank Dale, was that a good deal?"
Okay, so he traded JSN. I gotta read these like that.
Yeah,
Okay, he traded JSN and Alec Pierce for Tyreek Hill. Uh, Tyreek Hill, man, I don't know if I like him anymore. He's a very good wide receiver, but man, that offense is terrible. And then Tank Dell could maybe be a little bit on the rise without Nico Collins. So Donnie, obviously you got the better player, and you're betting on the star player, a player with a high credentials, good reputation. It's just like for me, I'm afraid of that Dolphins offense. They're very bad. They have no quarterback, so I don't know what that does for Tyreek Hill, who relies on a deep ball. Tank Dell hasn't done too much here, so uh, you know I get what you're doing here. I'm gonna say maybe not a good deal for me, but you still got Tyreek Hill, and that's probably the better bet at the end of the day.
yeah, and now that Nico Collins is out for a little bit for 4 games, Tank Dell kind of makes that deal better for you
Yeah.
if he starts to kind of go off like we saw last season. So we'll see. And yes, I think that's the big thing,
Yes.
Donnie,
Yes.
is
That's
that
good.
you're
Good point. Good
hoping
point.
Tua is back by week 8, and that honestly, like that, I think that's what Dolphin fans are also hoping for, is that he's back, because we've now seen what a big difference he makes. Without
Hey,
him, they have no offense.
if you're doing well, like Victor here in our league, he's doing well. Like I think he's 8-2, and you're off to a good start. You have some good depth on your roster. I love that for you, and you're being patient. I like that. It's just that Dolphins offense really scares me. JSN, I don't really care for him, but Alec Pierce has been having some good games. So when you think about those two players, it's definitely something you could wait on. So hopefully it works out for you, Donnie.
Yeah. All right. At the we'll get to your Chargers question as well when we preview the Chargers and Broncos game, or we bring it up in our betting line. All right, Gilbert. Our last top tier matchup is Bills versus Jets. Jets fire their coach, and the Bills on the road are 2.5 point favorites. The money line is -135, and the over under is 41. Where do you want to start with this match?
Yeah, we can start with the Jets here, and off the bat, I'm gonna take the Jets plus 2.5 here. They are at home, and and just to kind of give you some random analysis, don't overlook the little bump teams get when they're fighting for the interim coach. They're fighting for the coach who got fired. Jeff Ulbrich is beloved there for the Jets defense. Robert Sala also beloved by the Jets defense there. I think they might have a little bump there. Maybe the defense carries them. I mean, maybe the offense doesn't do anything, but I really like that defense. One thing I wrote about at SI.com is like, yeah, they needed a scapegoat because Woody Johnson created this win now mentality. But Robert Sala did his job. That defense is very good. Look at all the numbers. It's been very good since he arrived in 2021. And then Josh Allen doesn't have Khalil Shakur, and we saw what happened to his offense. He had a very terrible game last week. So
Yeah.
I think the Bills are a little fraudy. Their defense is not good. They can't really stop the run. Maybe it's better game for Brees Hall, but I will take the Jets here at plus 2.5.
Yeah, and I think the Bills get things going again. We saw a very uncharacteristic game from the Bills last week in terms of how they played. I was expecting a way better game against the Texans, but both teams, the Texans and the Bills, kind of made some boneheaded decisions down the stretch there. It just felt like both teams probably deserved to lose, and the Texans pulled out the win. But I just think the Bills are the better team here. I think the Bills are, and this is where we kind of talked about, like, if you see some other teams kind of winning divisions here, I think the Bills need to win this game to kind of take control of this division, or else you're gonna let everybody back in here, and it's just gonna be a mess in the AFC East. So in terms of you know if you want a little bit more analysis, the Bills defense needs to get better. They need to get
Yeah.
healthy. They haven't played well lately, And then offensively for the Bills, as we talked about, they really need a number one receiver. Without Shakir, they look lost last week. He was back at practice in a limited fashion this, I think, today, so he should be in line to play, especially since the game is on Monday. And then the Jets' offensive line has been bad, as we talked about. When you have Brees Hall, as you said, what does he have, like 20 combined yards or something like that the last two games?
Yeah,
That's not
27, I
good.
think. Yeah.
27, that's not good. And and Aaron Rodgers just looks old, man. And I mean, he's 40 years old. I don't know what people expected, and if you think Devontae Adams was going to make a big difference on this team, like I said, I mean, the fact that they almost fired Nathaniel Hackett should tell you a lot about where this team is at. It just, yes, you get a little bit of bump with the new coach, but the Bills should win this game, and I think they should win it easily. So I'm glad we're on both sides of the
I
coin
don't know,
here.
Victor. I have not
Yeah.
liked what I've seen. They got blown out by the Ravens. They were they should have lost, honestly, to the
Yes.
Texans until Nico Collins got hurt. He was just dicing them up.
Oh yeah.
But I get it. The Jets are still the Jets. It's just I don't like the Bills, so I'll just take the home team. But
Yeah. I mean, even a
even if the Bills lose, I can still see them winning the division. It's not a good division there. I think the
yeah,
Jets are not good. The Dolphins, maybe they're good after week 8, like Donnie mentioned, but
yeah.
I can still see the Bills. But this
Yeah,
game,
even a
I just don't know.
Steers, like he has the Bills winning 48-14. That would like that might get some guys traded if that's the case. So
Devontae, don't go that way if you lose
yes,
by that much.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
now I'm
well,
like even starting to hear that Devontae might stay with the Raiders. I'm like, no, there's no way that's happening. Like, stop trying to sell that stuff. But
yeah.
if you have any more questions, go ahead and send them. We've been answering your questions, your fantasy questions. So please continue to send your questions. But now we move on to our betting locks of the week. This is where we kind of go over our five best bets, Gilbert. So far this year, you are crushing me. You are up 38 point. Actually,
Yeah, this
let
is
me
2 weeks ago.
yeah, that's 2 weeks ago. Go ahead and let people know how we do this, so that way they know where we're at while I update that banner.
Yeah, so we pick our five best bets of the week, and we have a point system here. So the first one that we mentioned, that's worth 5 points. That's our most confident bet, 5 points, and then 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. And we just tally up all the scores after each week, and we'll see who gets the most right here so far. I've been making the money this year, but it could definitely change in 1 week if I have an offer, which happens before 0-5 and Victor goes 5-0, we got a whole new ball game in the season. But hopefully, I could keep continuing making money for people. And same thing with Victor's bets here. But
Yeah, so
that's
you're up 20 points on me after last week. You got the big money ones, the 5, the 4, and the 3, right? And then I got the 4 and the 3, but then missed on everything else. So now you're up 20 points. You're up 49-29 after week 5. So what are your best bets this week for week 6, Gilbert?
yeah. Hopefully, people are paying attention because the track record is here for me. I'm doing well for a change.
Yeah.
I don't do too well in fantasy football, but sports betting, I think I'm doing a little better. Let's see. So you probably have it up here on the screen.
Yes.
And I hate that I'm going with a minus favorite team to get my 5 pointer. But I like what the Chicago Bears are headed. I think the Jaguars got a little bump here because they beat the Colts. They should have lost that game. They had a mistake after mistake. Joe Flacco was dicing them up there. Doug Peterson, speaking about fantasy football, is just so stubborn. He won't give the football to Tank Bigsby, but when he does, he makes a lot of plays. For some reason, he wants to believe in Travis Etienne. I think the
Yeah.
Jaguars are still a mess to me. Defensively, they can't stop an offense there. So I will go with the complete team. Yeah, technically the Jaguars are a home team in London. They love to go to London. They've been there many times. They're used to that. Maybe a younger team is not as used to going overseas, but uh, Caleb Williams is doing better. He had his best game against the Panthers. It was the Panthers. I get that. Uh, but the three wide receivers are stepping up now. When Keenan Allen's on the field, that opens it up for a Dunzier, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift is now in the flow of the offense. Offensive line is still a little shaky, but the playmakers are stepping up. And defensively, they're pretty good. They're a little underrated because I know the Vikings are having a good year. Even the Packers are getting a lot of takeaways, but They have 11 takeaways, which is third behind the Packers and the Vikings. I think they're allowing only 17 points per game. So they look like a complete team now. I know the offense has a ways to go. I'll say that. But give me the Bears to cover here and win -1.5. So pretty much a pick 'em here. I'm okay with the Bears for my 5-pointer here.
Yeah,
And then
before
for
you move on here, Gilbert, to your number four, I just want to make one more point just to add to this because I'm with you here with the Bears -1.5. I really like the Bears in this game, as you mentioned. You also have a secondary who's top three in terms of coverage, so that's really good. And then going back to the Jaguars and the fact that this is a London game, Gilbert, I wanted to get to this question. So Athir says, too many people keep saying that the Jaguars should move to London. Is insane talk, my bro. Jack's owner Khan just got the
Yep.
city to approve a 3.4 billion new gorgeous stadium. Why they keep saying that?
Yeah, I guess because they go there pretty often, and the Khan family has a lot of, I guess, businesses out there in the UK. But yeah, the second that he did that and is trying to get a new stadium to Jacksonville, I think those I guess those narratives should end. Yeah, maybe they'll be like a part-time team in London. They'll have 2 to 3 games a season, but other than that, it's still going to be part of Jacksonville. I feel like.
Yeah, and then you're just kind of you're building the fan base over there. There's nothing wrong with having a fan base in London and
Hmm.
in Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville, I think, is one of the smallest cities of any of the NFL teams. So,
Smart.
hey, if it helps you grow your fan base by going and playing 2 weeks in London during the season, I get it. I mean, you're still getting that you're still getting the money coming in, so it doesn't matter. All right, Gilbert, your number four is
Yeah, so here, Athir won't like this. I'm gonna take the Broncos +3 here versus the Chargers. And at first, I felt like, oh man, this might be like a public underdog bet here because hey, the Broncos are the home team. They have a 3-game winning streak, and then everybody is taking the Chargers. So I feel a little better here. Yeah, the Chargers are coming off a bye week, but this is where I don't like them, Athir. Uh, the Chargers passing attack has not been good, and now they're gonna face probably the best secondary in the NFL with Patrick Surtain the second. Like I don't know who he's gonna guard, but that tells you everything. There's no number one wide receiver on the Chargers, so uh, a young group of wide receivers against the best secondary in the NFL, you become one dimensional. I like that Joe Alt's gonna come back. Rashawn Slater, maybe the running game is a little better for J.K. Dobbins after a bye week, but you become one dimensional. You become predictable. You play into the hands of the Broncos defense there. I know Bo Nix could be shaky because you're facing Jesse Minter. So two bad offenses and two very good defenses are going to go at it. At this point, I'll take the home team, and Bo Nix is doing well after last week. 3-game winning streak. The confidence is very high in Denver, so I'm surprised they're dogs here. They gave me the Broncos +3.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't and I'll talk about this game, but I'll for me it's going to be the total where I'm going to go with this game, so I'll give you my
I'm
thoughts on
actually
this.
interested with that one because it's very low.
Yeah,
But all
yes.
right, number 3 here. I already mentioned Jets +2.5. I like them for that little bump game for the interim coach. Number 2, what do we have, Vic?
Okay, your number 2 is the Giants +3.5 against
Yeah,
the Best.
this one I kept going back and forth. I feel like every time I want to write off the Bengals, that's when they win. I was really trying to write them off against the Panthers, but I got a little reckless there. If the Bengals win, sure. But when I saw this go from 3 to 3.5, I'll say, okay, cool. I'll take the Giants here. It could maybe be a close game. When it was a field goal, I didn't like it. Now they need to win by a touchdown or I guess for more than a field goal there. The Bengals can't stop a nosebleed. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors might not be there, but Wanda Robinson's doing okay. They just beat the Seahawks. I know Kayvon Thibodeau got hurt, but you still got Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, who had 3 sacks last week. So that's a very good defense. Maybe not the best, but it's very good. I'll take them at home. I'm tired of messing around with the Bengals, so give me the Giants +3.5. And then what was my one? There it is. Yeah, this one I don't like it because I try to stay away from heavy
Yeah, I was
favorites.
kind of surprised I saw this number, Gilbert.
But also too, like I think the sports better or the bookmakers are trying to not do too many, +7, +6 bets here because they know
Yeah.
the trend here. So it was hard for me to pick after the Commanders got the kiss of death. I said I'm not picking them. They're gonna be my pick. But so I was a little kind of slim pickings for me here, and the Panthers are like they had that one victory against the Raiders, and people thought, hey, maybe they're not that bad. No, they are that bad. They had that one bump because of Andy Dalton. They stink. They look terrible
Yeah.
against who did they play last week? The Bears there. So I think what the Falcons showed me on Thursday Night Football last week, that's legit. I think Kirk Cousins is going to keep taking that passing attack and score points down the field against a very bad defense. And I think I'm gonna say this: they're gonna cover with ease, and I'm gonna feel okay about it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I really I think the Falcons, I think they're starting to finally kind of find their identity, and I think they rolled past the Panthers. All right, Gilbert, let me give you mine. I'll keep it short and sweet. My week 6 five best bets, and I'm gonna start with Broncos Chargers 35 and a half under.
Under.
Yeah, both of these defenses are really good. It'll be interesting to see which offense kind of does something in this game. I was not impressed with what I saw from the Broncos offensively. They're having a hard time running the ball.
Hey, the
Javante
defense can
with
score points, so if you get some
Yes,
couple of pick
exactly.
sixes,
Yes, yeah,
I don't
but
know.
I just
They
don't
got
see
30
the
last week.
I just don't see which team's going to make turnovers here. And this goes to what the question was here from Atir in terms of his Chargers. He says, "My only Chargers question is, will they finally unleash Herbert this week if he's healthy and the tackles look back? But most importantly, is Denver will stack the box, and yeah, they will stack the box. And so the problem is, Gilbert, as you mentioned too, is this it's a no-fly zone for this Broncos secondary. It's been Brandon Jones. You go through you have that white
Riley
cornerback
Cooper. Yeah,
who's
Riley.
yeah, Riley Cooper, and they're really legit. I think if you're gonna run the ball, I mean, you also have a Zach Allen there along that defensive line. They've been really good. So I think points are gonna be hard to find in this matchup. I just don't know how they get to 35 combined. That's why I make this my
Okay.
number 5. I just think,
Oh, wow.
I'm with you.
It
I
was
think,
too low for me. I
yeah,
don't
it's a low scoring game. I don't see where the offenses is
yeah.
going to come from both of these teams. These both of these defensive coordinators are doing a great job. So I mean, and you said like the Chargers are only giving up like 13 points a game, and then the Broncos I think are like 3 in scoring defense too. So
Mhm.
I mean, yes, it's I just don't see where the points come in this one. My number 4 is Bucks -3 versus the Saints.
I like
The
it.
Saints offensive line is beat up. You're starting a rookie quarterback in this game as well, and the Bucks are starting to get some of the defensive guys back. I really like the Bucks and what they're doing. The connection with Baker Mayfield and Evans and Godwin has been really good. They're starting to use their running backs really well with Rashad White and Bucky Irving. So I just think the Bucks probably run away with this game, Gilbert. Even though they're going to New Orleans, I just don't see how the Saints stay in this game. My number 3, as you mentioned, I didn't want to. I had it as my number 4, but I switched it later on just because I wasn't as confident as I should be. But as we've talked about, the trend 6.5 or more,
Mhm.
I'm finally on board with the Commanders. I just with the Ravens, I think this game stays close. I think the Ravens eventually pull it out, but I just think it's going to be a shootout, and it's going to be one of those games that lives up to the hype. I can't wait to watch this game. Who would have thought we'd be talking about Commanders Ravens as the game of the week? That's crazy in week 6. My number 2, as we talked about with defenses, the Steelers and Raiders. The Raiders are just beat up everywhere. I mean, you look at that injury report. I just don't know where the offense. They made the change to Aiden O'Connell, and I just think the Steelers defense is probably going to cost a couple of turnovers. They'll score a couple, though. And this is a big week for Justin Fields because Wilson is finally off the injury report. He practiced, so Justin Fields needs to go out there and have a good game, and I think he will against his Raiders defense. I just think the over here is really appetizing here for me. I have to take the over here. And then lastly here is
Oh,
Eagles -9.5 versus the Browns. Gilbert, I like I'm like that meme where you're just like poking the thing and then they're like, just do something. Just the Browns haven't done
yeah,
anything
yeah.
for the past couple weeks. And I know the Eagles are coming off a bye. I understand they have issues, but the Browns, I just have no faith defensively, offensively. I don't understand why they didn't even try to give Joe Flacco a contract. You
Yeah.
let him walk, and Deshaun Watson just looks lost out there. Like you just want to just tell the Browns, just give up already. Like just give up on this experiment. Take your loss now and just go to Jameis Winston already and give him the job because this just looks bad. And I just think the Eagles just they just blow out the Browns in this game.
Yeah, for me to support a heavy favorite, I had to kind of start small with the Falcons, but you went all in with this minus 9.5. That
Yeah.
one scares me, but if you're gonna do it against those dead in the water Browns there. You can't do anything. They
And I
refuse.
and I'm only risking 1 point, so I
Yeah,
figured,
that's true.
hey,
Yeah, same thing with me with the Falcons, but yeah, that's the team to do it. AJ Brown's gonna come back. Devontae Smith's gonna come back. They're on a bye week, like you mentioned. And then, like at some point, the locker room has to get tired of seeing Deshaun Watson out there and nobody doing anything about it because the owner doesn't want to admit his mistakes. So, just seems like a terrible environment there. So, they get their asses whipped there by the Eagles and the Eagles covered. I want to see Jameis Winston. I never thought I would say that, at least not in 2024. But we'll see what happens there.
yeah, if you're still out there with us, go ahead and send us your fantasy questions. We'll still answer them. We're gonna move on now to the rest of the games. We're gonna pick them here. Quick dump offs. All right, Gilbert. Let's start off with this. Was one of the games I was trying to get into my best
Mm.
bets, and that's Cardinals at Packers at -5.5. The over under is 47. Is where's what's the right side of this game for you?
Yeah, I really wanted to go with the Cardinals being my +5.5, but they got like
Yes.
maybe +6.5. I would have gone with them, but I don't know, something about the Packers. I like. I think maybe I need a couple games from Jordan Love to get the rust off, and I know. I wrote off the Packers after Love got hurt, but he came back very quickly. They're what 3-2. They're doing okay. They go back home, and the Cardinals haven't shown that to me that they're consistent. They're not able to stack wins, and then you go from a very close game in San Francisco. You steal that against a rival there. Can you still have that energy to go across the country? Well, not totally across the country, but to the Midwest, a tough environment. For again, if I could face Jordan Love, I don't know if I see that from the Cardinals there. If they do it, I'll be happy because I picked them to make the playoffs here. But give me the Packers here, and I think they even cover, Vic.
Yeah, I'm going the other way here. I'm back on the Cardinals bandwagon here. I like what I saw against the 49ers. Um, they need to run the ball. And, the Packers, part of the reason they beat the Rams because they forced those two turnovers. Can you keep relying on getting turnovers, Gilbert? That's my biggest thing with the
Yeah.
Packers is and their run defense has been terrible. What's been saving them is being able to turn the ball over. They get to two turnovers, which lead to scores. I just like the Cardinals here with Connor. I think they cover and they win outright, Gilbert. So give me the
All
Cardinals
right.
in this
All right.
game.
You're upset special. I like it.
Yeah, and one let's move on. Thea, we'll get to those last two to finish off the to finish up the episode. We'll get to your questions there. Texans at Patriots
Hmm.
-6.5. The over under is 38. What's the right side of this game, Gilbert?
So this was one favorite, heavy favorite I could not get behind, and the
Yeah,
Texans are my Super Bowl pick. But the way they're winning is not impressive. They're just finding ways to win, and that's okay. They're gonna win the division there. But at some point, I gotta see them like actually look like a Super Bowl contender. They haven't done it, and then you lose Nico Collins. Like, when you had Nico, I felt good about their chances, and they're still probably gonna win this game. But I can't take them to cover, -6.5. I saw it to -7 at one point. uh, they haven't won in dominant fashion, and maybe the Patriots get a little better because Drake May. I'm expecting him to be better than Jacoby Brissett. Brissett has not been good the last few weeks there. So yeah, it's a rookie quarterback making his debut, but you're gonna go to New England, facing a pretty good defense, not the best, but a good defense there, and you don't have your best wide receiver, your best playmaker, CJ Stroud. Hopefully, you're able to rise to the occasion and get Tank Dell involved and Stephon Diggs, and maybe Joe Mixon comes back. That's been another problem too. But until I see it, I don't see this team maybe covering a line that big. They'll win, but I don't see them
yeah,
covering a line like that.
yeah. And you're having to go to New England, and I get it. Like, Drake May gets his first start here. It'll be interesting to see how he looks. A little scared for him just because that offensive line isn't
Yeah.
great, but we said the same thing about Jayden Daniels. I mean, that was one of our big concerns with the Commanders was that offensive line. But if you're able to scheme things up for him and make it easier, I mean, Gilbert, I mean, I'll say this, and I felt bad for the quarterback there with the Patriots. He can every time it seemed like every time I looked at a highlight, he was on the ground. Anytime I would turn over to the game, he was getting hit. I mean, I just felt bad for him. So hopefully they can kind of do something different with Drake May. And I'm with you. I just haven't been impressed with the Texans. Just the same thing with the way we talk about the Chiefs hasn't been impressive in terms of their win. Yes, a win is a win, and we get it. But the same thing's going on with the Texans here. We can't deny that. They're getting bailed out by C.J. Stroud, and now you look at Nico Collins for 4 weeks. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see where they go. But and then man, like our guy, what is his name? The cornerback for the Patriots. He's a top three cornerback already, man.
Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez, man, he has been just shutting every number one receiver he's gotten up against. So it'll be interesting who they put on him, whether it's Stephon Diggs or Tank Dell. So, yeah, I'm with you here. I think the Texans wins, but I think the Patriots might cover here in terms,
Yeah.
that 6.5. All right, last one, Gilbert. Colts at Titans. The Titans are 3-point favorites here. The over under is 43.
Yeah, this is actually my survivor pool pick. I'm still alive. I'm 5-0. I picked the Commanders last week, and that was an easy one for me. And I call it my "don't be a coward" approach. I like to find games where like it's 60-40, even 50-50, because there's a lot of upsets in the NFL, and that's been working for me. But I also realize that I've been picking a lot of home teams, so that's probably my trend. Not more, not, I know I've been going with the tough games, but I saw a home team that's coming off a bye week, and they look good off of that bye week. I know they played the Dolphins, but I'm taking the Titans here for a survivor pool pick also and to win this game. I think they'll cover too. Is -3. It's kind of tough here, but uh, the thing about the Colts, though, I hate to say it, I think they look better with Joe Flacco. Anthony Richardson hasn't looked as good as I thought he's going to be. He's still
Yeah.
pretty rusty. Still not that accurate. And then you're coming off an injury. Maybe it'll be a little reckless. A couple interceptions, and that could benefit the Titans here.
Yeah, no Jonathan Taylor, it sounds
That too,
like.
yeah.
Maybe not even Sermon as well. He's still
Yeah.
dealing with an injury. And then that secondary for the Colts and their run defense has just been bad. I mean, that defense, I thought it would be better. It hasn't been. I mean, it's just and the Colts were a trendy pick to make the playoffs this season. It just
Yeah.
hasn't worked out. Yeah, I'm with you. I like the I Titans have been one of those teams I really like. That defense has been really good. I just I don't know. Do you know if it's Will Levis or Mason Rudolph starting this game?
I think it's Will Levis, but it's only because I remember what's his name, Bill Callahan or Brian Callahan kept saying that he's our starter, he's our guy, and I don't think it became a question this week because he shut it down so quickly last week.
Okay. Yeah, I would have I would have liked this game
Yeah,
more
Mason
for the
Rudolph. Yeah,
if it was Mason Rudolph. I just think he's the better quarterback right now. I mean, they probably would be 3-1 at this point, or if it wasn't for Will Levis throwing all
yeah.
those turnovers. But Gilbert, lastly, let's just get to these comments from Athir. He has a couple ones. He says Chargers will crush these boys 31-14. It's okay, Gilbert. I'll see you Monday.
Okay,
And
all
then
right.
he also says the NFL has decided to remove Bengals game in favor of Ohio State versus Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, Ohio State versus Oregon this week.
Hey, you
No,
get
is
all
it?
Oregon quarterbacks on that Denver Chargers game, by the way.
Yeah, so and the game's in Oregon. So by the way, I just saw too that talking about the Chargers and the Broncos, uh it's funny, like Bo Nix is a rookie, but yet uh Herbert and Nix faced each other in 2019 when Bo was with Auburn and
Yeah.
and Herbert was with Oregon. So kind of weird. Just tells you how good Herbert has been, how early he came in and how long Bo Nix was in college, and you would think he would be ready to go. But yes, all right, Gilbert. We don't have any more questions here for
Okay.
fantasy football. We got through all the games. We give our picks. Hopefully everybody listen to us, and now they're well prepared. They're ready for week 6, and yeah, it's not as great of a in terms of matchups going on in this week. I mean, we talked about it. Commanders Ravens, the top matchup of the week. You got Cowboys Lions, but yeah, you just never know. I think one of the things is, I'll say this. There's some games there that I thought about, like everybody's like picking the Steelers over the Raiders. Even I picked the Steelers, but watch, the Raiders are 2-0 versus the AFC North, and like nobody's picking them, and somehow, some way, it just feels like they're gonna go out there and win and get to 3-3 and be one of the worst 3-3 teams out there.
Yeah, the trend keeps happening with upsets happening, and I got 5 underdogs that I picked at SI.com, so hopefully it continues there. But yeah, you just never know. Hopefully I get the right underdogs, but we'll find out. Uh, this Sunday here. But did I see a comment? Oh no, that's from
Yeah, it's
earlier
a
today.
tier. He just says thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, Athir.
Yes, love you.
But
You guys
yeah,
are good.
no, we appreciate you being here, Athir, DZ, Donnie, Michael, Armando, Nino, Ray, Jay Smells, and Rudy, Will Casper, Joe. We appreciate it. So, if is this one that we missed?
He just came in right now.
Oh, okay. Did a deal yesterday. How we feeling? Sent away Kamara and Higgins for Saquon and Tank Dell. Need wins ASAP. So, okay, yeah, I'm down on Kamara because they lost their quarterback. Even with their quarterback, they weren't looking good. Higgins, is doing better, but you get Saquon there. It's a
Yeah.
good time to get Saquon because people might maybe forgot because he's on a bye week, and then Tank Dell's on the rise without Nico Collins. I like it.
Yeah, that's a good trade. I think you won that trade, especially getting Saquon. He's been their whole offense. I mean, without them, they probably be 0-4 at this point in the season. So
Yeah.
that's a good one, and I think they're going to feature him even more going forward, Gilbert. But yeah, good episode. Good to hear from everybody. Go ahead and close us out, Gilbert.
Yeah, if you're new here or you stumble upon this replay, do us a favor and subscribe to the channel here. Tell your friends about Compas on the Beat. If you're a compa, tell a compa, be a compa, and hopefully we help you out with fantasy football, with some sports betting, or hopefully you enjoyed the conversation here. We make this show for you to ask us questions. We'll respond. We're not trying to be like the experts, know-it-alls here, but just to have good discussion, a good dialogue. Shout out to you, Nino. We appreciate you being on here. But yeah, so if you like the content, the engagement, the conversation, the insight, go ahead and subscribe. That'll go a long way here. But don't be shy. Ask fantasy football questions. Maybe you saw the show and you're a little late here and you want a question for next week. We'll come back next week after Thursday Night Football. I think it's Sean Payton's game back to New Orleans, the Saints and the
Yes.
Broncos. And Michael, thank you for the love here. He says, thanks, fellas. So Michael Hart Jr. is back. He watched last week and he's back for another Thursday night edition of Heelberto's Hour that becomes, Heelberto's, 70 or 90 minutes. But that's good when we go longer because that means people are asking questions. So I'm glad people are enjoying it. We're doing a good job here, Victor. Victor is the brains of the operation. He's the one that gets all the knowledge going. And also you stepped up when my Wi-Fi went down. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that. I got worried for a bit, but it's time to get going here. On that note, ya nos vamos, pues vámonos on to week 6 Sunday.